So we're well into Chainsaw Man Part 2 at this point, right? A few small arcs have been completed, we have a new cast of characters, and we're setting up for a big picture main story to begin. So now is the perfect time to talk about it with y'all. And surprise, surprise, that's exactly what we're doing in this video. Because for whatever reason, people think I don't like Chainsaw Man, so I guess I have to correct the narrative. But all that being said, like and subscribe, donate to Patreon, all that, blah blah blah, whatever. Let's talk about chainsaws, yeah? I think the best place to start with Chainsaw Man Shippuden is with our new main character. That's right, step aside, Dennis, we have a new MC to follow. And even though she's just as much of a human disaster as you are, she's a lot more, fan art friendly. Of course, I'm talking about everyone's favorite femcel, Asa Mitaka. The second act of the Chainsaw Man manga opens with a look into her miserable school life, where she's mad at people for daring to have normal human relationships, talking too much in the bathroom, and worst of all, walking side by side in a narrow hallway, which, you know, I feel her on that one. In a wacky series of events that includes a headless chicken, illicit teacher-student relationships, a spinal cord sword, explosions, and a good old Fujimoto vomit scene, Asa ends up becoming the host of the War Devil, Yoru. This gives her Yoru's ability to turn anything she believes she owns into a weapon. Yeah, I know. It's as awesome as it sounds. So far, this part 2 of the manga has revolved around Yoru wanting to use Asa to kill Chainsaw Man, or at least make him vomit up nuclear weapons, which he supposedly ate and removed from existence. But man, Asa is a fascinating character to follow. I think the most interesting thing about her is that while she and Denji at first seem to be completely different characters, they actually have a lot more in common than meets the eye. The biggest one to me is that they're both unfortunate people, but not just average, everyday unfortunate. Asa and Denji are comically unfortunate. Denji isn't just broke, he's comically broke to the point where he's pawning off his balls and reselling used cigarettes. And Asa isn't just an awkward mess, she's a comically awkward mess. To the point where her big feel-good moment where she's finally accepted by her class is ruined in what was one of the most funny black comedy bits I've seen in a manga. Denji's life is one misfortune after another, and Asa's is basically the same. However, Denji manages to cancel out his depression through having negative IQ, while Asa is a bit more aware that she's a huge loser. Only a bit though, because she still has her incredible Reddit incel rants, which, you know, haven't we always wanted to see that in a shonen MC? But it's not just Asa that's worth talking about, right? We also have Yoru, the War Devil, who acts as a sort of secondary MC. Now, Yoru is great because she's a perfect example of one of the greatest tropes in the world of otakudom. And that, my friends, is Gap Moe. Simply put, Gap Moe is when a character who is usually known for acting a certain way acts the complete opposite. Yoru is one of the 4 horsemen, right? So that means like she's a big deal or whatever in the devil world or something. She's got a very haughty and abrasive personality and isn't afraid of gratuitous violence, which makes sense because, you know, War Devil and all that. But when she doesn't get her way or when she feels insulted in the slightest, she quickly turns into Aqua from Konosuba. And it's that beautiful Gap Moe along with a great character design that makes Yoru, how do you say, waifu material? Is that what the kids call it? So this is the main difference between the public safety saga of Chainsaw Man and this current academy saga. It's the characters that we follow. I know a lot of people have noted the more slice of life feel that this part has early on, and that's definitely true. In classic anime fashion, a major setting for the story so far in this part has been your average Japanese high school. Obviously the cast of characters isn't exactly average, but it's still funny to think that Chainsaw Man now shares a setting with K-On! But this is just one thing that makes Chainsaw Man Part 2 feel fresh compared to Part 1. Asa faces much more down-to-earth problems than Denji was facing previously. She wants to be liked by her classmates. That turned out well. She wants to have friends. That turned out well. She wants to go on a date with a boy she may or may not like. That turned out well. Chainsaw Man so far has been filled with over-the-top characters in extraordinary situations. And now we see mundane problems that are turned into something that's over-the-top and extraordinary. Cause all it takes is a little drop of that patented Fujimoto insanity to turn 2 teenagers awkwardly flirting at an aquarium into whatever is happening here. But speaking of which, let's briefly go through the 3 story arcs that the manga has covered so far at the time I'm recording this video, of course, including the current story arc. We got that first arc, the Justice Devil arc, which introduces us to our new cast of characters and follows Asa having to deal with their friend Yuko making a contract with the titular Justice Devil. Incredible way to start out part 2 in my opinion, with a bunch of nice bait and switch moments, a lot of dark humor, and of course, the best entrance of all time for our boy Denji. Then we go right into what apparently the fandom is calling the dating Denji arc, which, I mean, I guess, yeah, that does happen. In this arc, we get the return of the Eternity Devil, we get to see Asa flaunt a bit of her generationally terrible Riz, and we also get to see the much anticipated return of Nayuta, who is the new Control Devil. Rest in pieces, Makima. You won't be missed. Again, another incredible arc, if solely for the reason that we get to see Fujimoto flex his writing skills. We saw a bit of this during the Bomb Devil arc, but Fujimoto is actually really good at writing teenage romance. More so even than other shonen or shoujo romance authors. The weird, cringy back and forth between Asa and Denji is amazing to watch, and it all just feels fresh and believable. They're not instantly head over heels for each other, but despite that, Fujimoto manages to create an incredible chemistry between them. And finally, the current arc follows Asa in a big fight with the Falling Devil, where she's heroically saved by Chainsaw Man in one of the wildest Shonen Jump manga panels I've seen in a minute. Now it's here that we get a bit of a hint of what could possibly be the overarching main storyline of this second part. After the Falling Devil is beaten, the Famine Devil and Nayuta show up, and it's revealed that there's some sort of doomsday end of the world prophecy that's coming to fruition. In order to combat this, the Famine Devil, who goes by Fami, I know, very cute, tries to get the War Devil onto her side because she believes she's the key to victory or some shit. I don't know. I'm not good at following along with this kind of stuff. And to me, that's really interesting to think about because now we can get into a bit of theory crafting as to where Fujimoto is going to take this story, yeah? Number 5, the segment where I make meaningless and brain-dead theories. Oh, sorry, we're not doing a numbered list in this video, my fault. Basically, this revelation gives us an end goal for the Part 2 Academy Saga, whatever you want to call it. We gotta prevent whatever this end-of-the-world apocalypse scenario is. Oh no, oh my god, everyone, we gotta work together. And it's clear that Fami is the ringleader of this effort to stop the Age of Devils, as they call it. And it looks like she already may have some allies, or pawns, in the form of the Devil Hunters Club, judging by the glances she shares with some of their members. So Fami is trying to recruit the other horsemen, War and Control, to help her out, but we have yet to hear about the 4th horseman, the Death Devil. If I had to speculate, I'd guess that Death might be an antagonist later on, if not the main antagonist that's going to bring about this Age of Devils. I only say this because I vaguely remember Makima saying that the Death Devil tried to get rid of the other horsemen, so you know. Now as for why Yoru is so key to preventing this apocalypse, who knows, but I'm sure Fujimoto will find a way to make it, what is it again the kids say? Peak fiction. That's right. Because if you remember in that other Chainsaw Man video I did, I talked about how Fujimoto's love for cinema influences his writing. But it's not necessarily just through cinematography, shot composition, and aesthetic, it's through writing itself. Fujimoto likes films where the audience can't predict what's going to happen next. So Fujimoto has said in interviews that he wants to draw manga like Korean films. He cites the 2008 film The Chaser as an example due to its unconventional plot structure. This is really important to note because you'll see that Fujimoto is a big fan of writing stories in a way where the audience usually has no idea where it's gonna go. And this is interesting to think about because if you look at the big picture, the story that he writes for Chainsaw Man is relatively straightforward. Think about it. What's the big overarching plot of Chainsaw Man Part 1? We gotta stop Makima. And it looks like Part 2 is going to be similar. The end goal is we gotta stop the Age of Devils. But while the end goal may be simple, it's how we get there that's interesting. Because I'm sure I don't need to tell y'all some of the shocking twists and turns that happen in Chainsaw Man. Not to mention that Fujimoto knows how to subvert common tropes in a clever and even humorous way. Fujimoto is really such a versatile writer because he just does everything you wouldn't expect from a Shonen Jump manga. And granted, this is just him going beyond the admittedly low expectations I have for Shonen Jump titles, but hey, what can you do? He shuffles up the cast of characters despite creating a cast of already iconic characters from Part 1, and he also changes up the tone and setting like I mentioned earlier. It feels like he's constantly challenging himself as a writer to find a way to draw out the entertainment value from any kind of scenario or genre. You can see this in his other works too, including the one I always like to mention, Goodbye Eri. It's like a musician who can make music out of any instrument you give them with any kind of production software in any kind of genre. They'll find a way to make it into something special. So, taking all all that into consideration, I think we're in for a wild ride with Chainsaw Man Part 2. Cause I mean, if anyone can top a lesbian devil orgy scene, it's Tatsuki Fujimoto. RIP the homie Bucky, man. That was one of the most gut-wrenching deaths I've seen in a manga. Bro was just excited to be here. What a clucktastrophie, am I right? Really foul of Fujimoto to make him go out like that. But hey, at least his death revealed the bad egg that was the class president and the fact that Mr. Tanaka was clucking his own student. Oh well. All's well that eggs well, I guess.